Hmm.
Okay.
Well, that's exactly what we're gonna do today.
Okay.
So you've
But
got it.
if you were going to in the future do the rest of that,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
let thine ears be attentive to the voice of my supplication, etc., etc. I
Yep.
would like to have those too.
Sure. Yeah, we can just take them out of there.
Also, could you give us? I was going to ask this of Paniotis
Hmm.
the next day, but I couldn't get to church.
Hmm.
So, will you explain how the ages works? Because evidently, when I'm looking at it on the computer, I'm not seeing it the way I'm supposed to be
Sure.
using it, or something like that. Then we could all use that, because we need to know how that works.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
I know I could never in my lifetime actually read the text like you did off of a little cell phone.
Hmm.
But if I got
I don't
an
like to do
iPad,
that myself.
if I could get an iPad and I could have it smack in front of my face instead of trying to look at it sideways, I think I could do that.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I found it actually easier to read than this music.
Hmm.
I don't know why. But the problem being that there are no e-sign marks.
Hmm. Then we can definitely do that afterwards.
Okay.
So last 2 weeks ago, we kind of went over the brief Plagal one, and we went over kind of how it works. And so then we sang through at least Lord I've Cried, and then we sang through the Psalm verses, and then we got all the way up to verse number 1 and Stakira number 1, and we talked a little bit about how the tempo changes and what those tempo markings are. But let's sing through verse number 1 and Stakira number 1 and see how we do, and then we'll just keep going on through. So this one starts on Ke, so Ane, bring my soul. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. By thy precious cross, O Christ, thou hast put the devil to shame, and by thy resurrection thou hast blunted the sting of sin, and thou hast saved us from the gates of death. We glorify thee, only begotten one. All right. How did that feel for 2 weeks?
A little
2 weeks
rusty.
ago. Yep. I guess we'll do it again. Any questions on it?
Should it be a little faster?
Yes.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, I would probably sing
Felt
it.
like it was dragging.
I'd probably sing it by thy precious cross, O Christ. That type of rhythm. You could do it even faster, but then it gets a little poof, gets a little fast. So, do you want to do it at that speed or?
Just a
pull it
little
back?
under that.
Bring my soul out of prison. Bring my soul out of prison, that I may confess thy name. By thy precious cross, O Christ, thou hast put the devil to shame, and by thy resurrection thou hast blunted the sting of sin, and thou hast saved us from the gates of death. We glorify thee, O
different tone.
Gotten one. Yep.
That's not what we were singing, but that's what I wanted to do.
That's what at least us two were singing. I think we all were singing that. That's what I was saying. Yeah, we glorify thee, O only begotten one.
Before we all did God, and I wanted to do.
Sometimes it's not as flat as that gotten one. You could do a gotten, just slightly more than that.
Yeah, but if you don't do the notes going down right, you don't set yourself up for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's just the interaction, the attraction of notes. You know, the K and Zo being attracted to each other. The same reason why Ke Zo Ke Di Ga, because Ga is attracted to thee. Otherwise it'd be Ke Zo Ke Di Ga, which is not what we would sing. So, and that's called the attraction of notes.
Oh, okay. There's a theory to it.
Yep. Yeah, the theory of attraction. And what your ear wants you to hear. So we give the ear what it wants. So let's go on to verse number 2, stick here number 2. Anes, the righteous shall wait patiently for me, until thou shalt reward me. He that granted the resurrection unto the race of man was led as a sheep to slaughter. The princes of Hades were terrified of him, and the grievous gates were lifted up. For Christ the King of glory hath entered.
Wait a minute.
Saying to those in bonds, go forth, and to those in darkness reveal yourselves. Yep. Darkness reveal yourselves. So there's a few things here.
Okay, it's all there.
We'll sing it again a little faster. But the one thing at the second line of the music, as a sheep to slaughter. So we sang, as a sheep to slaughter. So yeah, so that's the thing. Slaughter. So that's a little fast, but normally you would actually add more to it. So, as a sheep to slaughter, you'd go slaughter.
As a sheep to slaughter.
Slaughter. So you kind of bounce slaughter.
And that's where the other third part came from. It wasn't just from the timing.
The 3?
Yes.
Oh no, the 3 is for a whole other reason.
I thought that was for the timing.
It is, but it's from ter and the.
Yeah.
There's make 3. Slaughter the. That's your 3.
That's the third.
The.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because we have something missing in there that we want to hear.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, we're keeping it in rhythm. Slaughter 1 and 2 and 3, or 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 1. So, and besides that, any questions? Okay. So the righteous shall wait patiently for me. Honest. The righteous shall wait patiently for me until thou shalt reward me. He that granted the resurrection unto the race of man was led as a sheep to slaughter. The princes of Hades were terrified of him, and the grievous gates were lifted up. For Christ the King of glory hath entered, saying to those in bonds, go forth, and to those in darkness, reveal yourselves. How was that?
Sound 5.
Yep.
Oh,
Um,
like a lot.
Yep.
I had a real hard time trying to figure out the timing on Grievous because you have the Petesti there.
Yep.
But then you have you have the decline.
Yep.
So could you do it perfectly for us so that we can
Sure.
get in our heads?
We're terrified of him, and the grievous gates were lifted up.
So you're not you're just barely.
And the grievous.
So you're not doing.
Grievous.
Yeah. So I
They're
was
not-
trying to do too
yeah.
much there, and that's why it didn't work.
Yep. And the yeah.
It didn't work.
And the grievous. And you're doing it too fast anyway. Like if I were to do it, let's say on the previous line, the princes of Hades. There's no time there for the princes. The princes of Hades were terrified of him, and the grievous gates were lifted up. Just make sure that it's and the grievous, like that you give it a little bit of a smack, the note itself. And
Because
the
it's about-
grievous.
Because it's about the resurrection. It's a tone of about the resurrection. And so everything having to do, the serious parts of that are all,
It's all serious.
yeah, but there are lots of places that are emphasized in this.
That's right. That's just part of English. The princes of Hades were terrified of him,
Yeah, yeah,
and the grievous gates were lifted up.
yeah. And it sort of adds to the solemnity.
Yep.
So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Go forth into those in darkness, reveal yourself.
Was this Father Seraphim that did the trans? Yeah.
Nope.
No.
This is Holy Transfiguration Monastery.
Oh, this is HTM,
Yeah, this is their translation.
which I like, and for some reason or other, some people dislike this very much.
HTM.
Why?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I want to go a whole day speaking in movie quotes and acronyms.
Holy Transfiguration Monastery, Boston,
It's a
Massachusetts,
mouthful.
used to be a part of the Royal Corps until very grievous things occurred.
Yep.
Grievous.
Which you will find that
The grievous gates, yeah. So,
Verse 3.
number 3. Stick here, number 3.
Okay.
So before we do this, "Oh great wonder" is such a characteristic thing. You'll see it over and over again in tone 5. So the "Oh great wonder," that thing. You'll hear it again and again and again.
On those words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. But you'll hear it in other contexts as well. but there's no time probably. So, oh, great wonder.
So why did they put it there then?
Oh, because it's still part of the writing. It's still how you write things. Because there's ways of
Tradition.
telling you how their stress is.
Oh.
It tells you that the next one's going to be down one. There's ways of writing certain phrases because remember it's symbolic patterns. You're memorizing patterns of notes.
Okay.
So if you're memorizing patterns, it helps to have a certain way of writing them. So.
To be honest with you, I have not got that up one with a flutter. I just go up one. I mean, it's too much thinking.
In Pittsburgh.
When I get good, I'll know
Yeah.
when I've got it. And when I can get that up one with a flutter, then
If you practice every
I've
day like
arrived.
I don't, you would get it.
I'll tell you what. I'll start practicing every day when you start practicing.
It's a challenge. In Pittsburgh, one of the chanters there, he actually taught the students. One of my friends who's the head chanter in Pittsburgh now, his teacher said, this is up one, this one's up one, and this one's up one. He said, don't sing them any differently. He was like, just know that they're all mean up one. And it was only later that they eventually figured out, oh, this one's a flutter, oh, this one's this.
Yeah.
So, that was their tradition.
I'll get there.
And they
don't worry about that.
They did fine. So, out of the depths have I cried unto thee. Aeneas. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. O great wonder, having suffered in the flesh out of love for man, the Creator of things invisible, the immortal one hath risen. Come, O ye kindreds of the nations, let us worship him, for delivered from error by his compassion, we have learned to praise the one God in three hypostasies. And everyone knows hypostasies?
No.
Personhood in three persons. So that's just the Greek word. For some reason they decided not to
I
translate.
know what a hypothesis is.
Yeah.
I know what a hippopotamus is.
But not a hypostasis.
Hypostas.
Yeah.
Hypostasis.
So that's the one. Whereas where the Son of God has one person, but two natures. So this one is the one God, but three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So, out of the depths have I cried unto thee.
Father, Son, Holy Spirit, and Trinity Christ.
Oh yeah. So, out of the depths have I cried unto thee, and then we'll sing it a little faster. Ane, ane. Out of the depths have I cried unto thee, O Lord. O Lord, hear my voice. O great wonder, having suffered in the flesh out of love for man, the Creator of things invisible, the immortal one hath risen. Come, O ye verse number 4 into gear number 4.
Question.
Yep. Yes.
Could you just sing the phrase, one hath risen, and come ye kindreds of the nations?
Sure.
And are we supposed to pause after risen? There's no
let's see.
pause mark, but it seems like there should
Period.
be one.
Oh, so one hath risen on the immortal one hath
One
risen.
yeah.
So what would you like me to sing first? Yeah.
One hath risen, and then go into
Okay.
the come, O ye kindreds. Because,
Sure. Invisible, the immortal one hath risen. Come, O ye kindreds of the nations, let us worship him.
I'm doing something wrong with one hath risen. That's what it is.
One hath risen.
Risen. Don't worry, I made a
Why is it
mistake
sounding
too.
too high for me?
Risen. And then you can pause there because there's a period. So in Pittsburgh, oftentimes because we're doing it chorally, they take a little bit of time with everything. So they might go, invisible, the immortal one hath risen. Come, essentially holding it for twice the amount. Rin.
The last part of risen you're holding.
Yeah, risen. Come, and that gives everyone a chance to breathe together.
So instead of being 2, you're making it 4.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Yep, and then breathing somewhere in there. So, and that's just on style.
Okay.
But you also hear, sometimes you hear, visible, the immortal one hath risen. Come, O. So, risen. Come. That's their way of breathing for that choir. A different choir. They just cut immediately. So it depends on the choral tradition.
Since he had lots of nice chanters, the Protosaltes the other day did lots of cuts.
Yep.
He had Nick.
So verse number 4 is to gear number 4. Let thine ears be attentive. So let thine ears be attentive to the voice of my supplication. Evening worship do we offer thee, the unwaning light, who in the end of the ages, through the flesh as in a mirror, has shined upon the world, and has descended even unto Hades, and dispelled the darkness there, and has shone the light of the resurrection unto the nations. O giver of light, Lord, glory be to thee. Any questions?
I think we had a nice ride.
We'll do that one a little faster.
Sure.
So, let thine ears be attentive to the voice of my supplication. Evening worship do we offer thee, the unwaning light, who in the end of the ages, through the flesh as in a world, and has descended even unto Hades, and dispelled the darkness there, and has shone the light of the resurrection unto the nations. O giver of light, Lord, glory be to thee.
Okay.
So number...
Maybe not that fast.
Yep. Number 5?
I can only do it slower, that's right.
So number 5 or?
Number 5. Yeah, I'm game.
Alright. If that's
Ready,
yours.
Galena?
I was just making you my mistakes. Okay.
Okay, so a few things to point out here. So look at the end of the first line of "Let us glorify Christ, the author of our salvation."
Where are we? I thought
Number
we were on
5.
Here, 5, yeah.
Sticker of 5.
Oh,
V.
the
Yep.
hero 5. We're not.
V.
We're not doing the verse?
Oh, we will.
They-
I'm
they
just
put
pointing
a-
out a few things.
They put a bar
Okay.
on top of V to make us certain that we don't say the
Yep.
author.
The author. Yep. So let us glorify Christ, the author, and then do you notice a pattern at salvation? Have we seen that before?
Well,
Yes.
right.
All right.
You mean that one? Oh, what?
Author of our salvation. Yep. So we saw that with was led as a sheep to slaughter. So same pattern of syllables, same formula, you know? Led as a sheep to the slaughter, author of our salvation. Same pattern. Okay, and then on the third line, the choir of the angels rejoiceth. We've seen that as well. The rejoiceth. I don't know the words for that one, but we saw it before in number 3.
Yes.
Well, we saw it differently. Mortal one hath risen.
I knew there was a word that began with R. Yeah.
Yeah.
Risen. Okay.
And we saw it on number 2 as well. Glory hath entered. So these are the
It's sort of like
little
a little
patterns.
bright
Phrasing.
thing in the middle of it.
Mhm.
Phrasing.
rejoiceth. So you'll start noticing all these little things, and at the end, risen, the devil is destroyed. We've seen that countless times.
Yes.
So these are the things to start paying attention to, so that you don't actually have to sight read.
Well, I'm gonna mess up on saved from error
saved from error.
because
Yep.
I'm trying to figure out how it goes. Because there, again, we have a third with the or the.
Yep. So that's just dead, the world was saved from error, the choir of the angels. So that's just it's just telling you that from the 3, we got a rhythm, which you don't have to.
Please pitch that more. Please pitch it for us non-sopranos.
Let's see, what is our note currently? That's an E flat.
E flat. Let's make it deep.
we can do it. At least for the moment. That's a little low for tone 5, at least for me. But we can do it. We can do it. Honest. If thou shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? For with thee there is forgiveness. Let us glorify Christ the author the world was saved from error. The choir of the angels rejoiceth. The deception of the demons doth flee. Adam, who was fallen, is risen. The devil is destroyed. Any
I have
questions?
neglected to make D of demons 2 notes.
The deception of the demons doth flee. Yep. So let's go back from the beginning.
Okay.
If thou shouldest mark iniquities, O Lord, who shall stand? For with thee there is forgiveness. Let us glorify Christ, the author of our salvation. For when he arose from the dead, the world was saved from error. The choir of the angels rejoiceth. The deception of the demons doth flee. Adam, who was fallen, is risen. The devil is destroyed. So,
Anita pulling thread.
what?
Did you hear me?
What?
Oh, he said so, and I said Anita pulling thread.
Soul. Soul.
SOL. Yeah.
Soul.
Oh.
So
that's the weird thing. So, when I was in school in Pittsburgh, they used the European system for do re mi.
Yeah.
So that was sol, and it was si, do re mi fa sol la si do.
Yeah.
And everyone there was like, Professor, it's T, and he was like, actually you're wrong. You know, he was like, all throughout the world they say si.
When we learned in the 4th grade, we used C.
Yeah.
They modernized in America.
Well, they changed it completely. Yeah. Because we went to A, B, C, D, E, F, G, so we didn't need that anymore. Whereas in Europe, they still say, okay, give me a do on the keyboard, because do is C, do, and it's fixed do. So they don't know if I were to say like, oh, you know, you're playing a B flat. They're like, that's an SI flat, a C flat. So it's kind of a curious thing. It made it very confusing for the accompanist when our conductor would say, play a C.
Oh.
And then she would look over and she's like, what do you want? You know, do you want a B natural or a C And because all of us had been trained differently. So, verse number 6. This is a fun one. So this is a little I don't know if it's polemical or what it is, but while we were sleeping, yeah.
Of your name.
Yeah.
It means
Anakento onomatosu. Yep. For your name.
Onomato. There's 2 accents.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, the only reason their second one is there is because of su. Anakento onomatosu. So, for the namesake. Anes. For thy name's sake have I patiently waited for thee, O Lord. My soul hath waited patiently for thy word. My soul hath hoped in the Lord. It's a fun ending. So the
I'm
guards.
thinking of the number of times I've done this in Vespers and just done it badly. It's coming back to haunt me. It's like bad habit.
That's right. That's why
For
we're
my
here.
name's sake, have I patiently waited?
So the guards were instructed. The guards were instructed by the lawless, conceal the resurrection of Christ, and take ye pieces of silver and say, while we were sleeping, the corpse was stolen from the tomb. Who has seen, who hath ever heard of a corpse being stolen? Especially one anointed with myrrh and naked, with the funeral shrouds being abandoned in the grave. Be not deceived, O ye Jews. Learn the sayings of the prophets, and know that he is truly the Redeemer of the world and the Almighty One. So this is one of my favorite. The people in Pittsburgh, it's one of their favorite hymns because of the content and also the melody as well. So, any questions or just do it again?
Yeah, let's do it again. It's kind of a long one.
Yeah, it is.
And
I
you have to know that there's another piece of paper.
Yeah. Yep, for sure. And conveniently, Secure number 7 right after this one is super short. So we get a long one and then we follow it by a short one. And just to let you know, I don't know if you're familiar, but there were 4 hymns normally, or was it 4 or 3? I think it was 4. 4 hymns written by St. John of Damascus. And then you had Patriarch Anatolius, who wrote the next set to make it 7. So he wrote 3. I believe it was 4 and 3, not 3 and 4. And so the Anatolian Stikira, if you ever see that written in a book, those are the second set because they were composed later to make it 7. Because initially St. John of Damascus he only did 4 for everything. So if there's any additions more than that,
he was in a hurry.
Yeah,
well,
it's like 4 is enough.
Also,
this
Sahara puts being in custody in a different context. It's about the custodians.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, about the guards.
Mm-hmm.
They were Romans.
Yep.
Custodians.
Oh.
Custodias. Yeah.
Custodians.
Yeah, the guards.
Yeah, the guards, about the guards.
Yeah.
But it puts being in custody because we have that word.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea we had that from the Greek.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, being in the under the possession of the guards. Huh. That's kind of interesting. It's amazing what comes from all these different languages.
Well, I suppose as far as being a Roman soldier goes, it's better to guard a tomb than it is to spear a bunch of people that are riot.
Yep. And then be given silver to.
Or both.
It was a bad night for them. They fell asleep in the Holy Spirit and then were accused of.
Yeah.
Oh well, never mind.
So verse number 6, the king number 6, one more time. Aeones, for thy name's sake have I patiently waited for thee, O Lord. My soul hath waited patiently for thy word. My soul hath hoped in the Lord. The gods were instructed by the lawless, conceal the resurrection of Christ, and take ye pieces of silver, and say, while we were sleeping, the corpse was stolen from the tomb. Who has seen, who hath ever heard of a corpse being stolen, especially one anointed with myrrh and naked, with the funeral shrouds being abandoned in the grave? Be not deceived, O ye Jews. Learn the sayings of the prophets, and know that he is truly the Redeemer of the world and the Almighty One. Nice. Verse number 7. Secure number 7. Short and sweet.
Did I send you Father
One
George
until night.
on the use of American English in America? Did I send you Father George on
Nope.
chanting? I will send you.
Okay.
I'll send it.
Which Father George?
Holy Apostles in Beltsville, Maryland.
Oh, okay.
At
Yeah.
which I've never been.
Yeah. It's a nice little parish. Ane, verse number 7. From the morning watch until night, from the morning watch, let Israel hope in the Lord.
I had the tempo wrong. This is regular tempo. Hope in the Lord.
Yep.
Okay.
O Lord, who has despoiled Hades. O Lord, who has despoiled Hades, and has trampled upon death. O our Savior, who hast enlightened the world by thy precious cross, have mercy on us. Oh, everyone was pretty good with that one. So verse number 8. So the key here. So on Resurrectional Vespers, there's 10 hymns of the day, and so then in general there's 7 that are written for the resurrection, and then there's 3 more spots. So those would be for the saint of the day.
Okay.
Sometimes the saint of the day is a little bit bigger, so then he gets 4. Sometimes he's a little bit bigger than that, so then he gets 6.
Ooh.
So then you start cutting away from the resurrectional. So there's always 10 total hymns of the day. So if the saint of the day has 6, or if there's 2 saints, then 3 and 3, 3 plus 3 gives you 6. So then you have 4 for the resurrection, and then 6 for the saints. So in this case, if you notice, there's no hymns written for verse number 8, verse number 9, and verse number 10, specifically because there's nothing for the resurrection. You would take that from the book of months, the Menaion, and you would look at your month, you would look at the day, or the other seasons of the year. But you would look and you'd see what is your saint, and you'd fill in here. So if
How much do you fill in which space?
So verse number 8 would be for the saint. Verse number 9, you would have a secure right afterwards for the saint. And verse number 10, you would have a secure afterwards for the saint. At a minimum. At a minimum. So, but if there's certain rules as to whether they get more than 3. A regular, simple, everyday saint who doesn't have very many hymns composed for him or her gets 3. And we can talk about that later as to the nuances and.
Very simple
There's a
statement.
name for that though.
There's different classes of saints.
That's what I mean.
Yep.
I can't remember the names for the different classes.
Yeah. So I believe.
And then the patronal is another different one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, you have different ranks of saints. So, and ranks not meaning that one is better than the other, but ranks just meaning that they are more venerated across the world, or they are more well known, or had a more far-reaching.
And it differs from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, unfortunately.
Yep. The Greeks have the Greek saints, the Russians have the Russian saints, the Americans have the American saints, the Brits have their British
The Welsh
saints.
have Saint David.
Hmm?
And the Welsh have Saint David.
Yep.
I mean the Venerable David.
Yeah. Yep. Well, upstairs, I don't know if you saw the icon that we have. Saint Edmund, the king.
Oh.
Yeah. He was martyred. He was actually killed. So was his son.
You're Welsh.
My mother's Welsh.
What's your father?
French.
You know you look Irish.
I also have French and Welsh.
The Irish normally have black hair and blue
So-
eyes. This is a Viking look.
Hmm.
Those Norwegians got around with their little boat.
In their.
Hey, they got to Superior, Wisconsin.
Really?
Wow.
When they checked the DNA in my family, they found Danes.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, Dan.
And nobody's been there
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you said you're.
since the 7th century.
My father's French, my mother's Welsh.
Okay.
And I was educated in England, and now I live in Virginia. Perfect. British by birth, rebel by the grace
Do you
of
remember
God.
the Norman invasion?
No.
Okay.
I'm
They were
terrible
French
with
dudes.
history. Well, I
Banning
know that
France.
much. I just don't know. Whatever.
The French were actually, they were Germans, they were Norsemen. They were Vikings too.
The French?
The Normans who invaded England
Normans.
were not Latin, they were French-speaking Germans. They were
Oh.
Vikings, Norsemen,
Wow.
Normans.
Oh.
I'm like
Yeah.
German. No.
They were very good with those
You could be German.
shallow draft
No, because
fast
we have
boats.
I mean, you look.
we have
you're
a
just
huge
European.
family. One part of my family, huge website. So the part that
Okay.
has in English, it's there. We have some peculiarities. So even if somebody's from Czechoslovakia, but his DNA is the same,
Mm.
the way you tell whether he's is or not is a couple of the peculiarities.
Kathy and I went up to Michigan in September, and the Upper Peninsula is very heavily mined. And there was copper mines there long before Christopher Columbus or even Eric the Red showed up. The Babylonians had crossed the Atlantic, mined copper. The Indians had never mined it, but there was evidence that copper had been pulled out of the ground.
Where did they find that?
Tailings.
Where is this?
The Upper
What
Peninsula
city?
of Michigan. Can we
Upper-
know?
How do we?
When was that discovered?
I just got it in a book called Weird Michigan, but
Oh, that's cool.
there's all
So Christopher
there's all sorts of
Columbus
evidence
wasn't
that
the
lots
first
of
one to
people had
discover
gotten around, that
Upper
they'd gotten
Peninsula.
I
around.
thought St. Brendan founded America.
Saint No, Saint Brendan actually was a bishop, and he had a boat built, a leather boat, and he sailed across the Atlantic to find out where his parishioners had gone. Because monks were just getting in the boat and throwing the oars away and saying, God, take me wherever you want. And Brendan knew they were out there, and he went, and he came back.
He was apparently like in his 80s when he did this too. He was apparently in his 80s when I looked at the.
Wow, I didn't realize he was that old. I know there was a guy who retraced the voyage in the 70s.
Tom
Well, didn't he
Severin.
go to
Yeah.
America?
Yeah.
Tim Severin.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Tim
like
who?
Yeah.
Severin?
So he actually was there before
AD.
I only read this one,
What,
his life in France.
380 or something? I mean, it was the
But actually,
the Roman
Native
Empire was
Americans founded America. They
the
were
Roman
always there,
Empire
right?
was going into collapse, and any learned man, whether he was Christian or not, made their way to not just Ireland, but the islands off the coast of Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
And people go there now, and they had these little caves, made up with stones on top, and they were covered with turf. And these people got their scrolls and whatever knowledge they had written down, and the monks in Ireland, that they were able to make ink and get sheep parchment or something, and there's no shortage of sheep in Ireland, and they just wrote and wrote and wrote, and the monks, as you write something out by hand, you're eventually going to start memorizing it, and it's the same as reading it, just a little slower and a little more
I'm
intense.
going to see what kind of sheep
And-
they have.
They've got two kinds
What
that
kind?
I know of.
Do you know what kind
I
they have?
forget what they're called.
Blackface
Blackface
and merinos,
ones and
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
I
is that what they're
guess.
called? Blackface?
Yeah, they have blackface sheep, and then they have Jacob sheep, which have horns.
Okay.
Jacob sheep.
Yeah.
Sheep.
Jacob sheep. They have brown fur.
Okay, I'm
Wool.
tired.
Well,
When I
we
see-
should finish.
Are we done?
I think
Yeah.
it's
It's 9
yeah.
o'clock.
We could do the dogmatic.
That'll take us too
thinking.
long, I think.
It's not impossible.
I leave it to the masses. I leave it to the masses.
Do I have this or not? I'm going to assume I do, because you have it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Next week I'll bring a 3-ring binder with all my music.
All right.
Keep it in the car. I've been leaving it in the car.